Hey, welcome back to Chasing Dreams Homestead, y'all. We got some beautiful weather out today, so it's time to prune fruit trees. If you followed us last year, you know I finally talked Mama Dreams into letting me plant fruit trees in the front yard. Grass is just kind of silly to have unless you're using it to feed animals. So she finally gave in and let me plant fruit trees. We planted 28 in the front yard. All but 2, I believe, made it that first season. This fruit tree was not part of that planting, but we had to go ahead and trim this back a good bit because, as you can see right here on the ground, there's a ton of water spouts that had shot up in years past. Now, I do apologize for any vehicles that go by, y'all. We live on a corner, and even though we are way out in the country, this corner is super duper busy because it connects 2 state highways. Our road does. Our road's about 8 miles long, and it goes from 2 state highways, so we get all the through traffic. Anyhow, this big boy right here, come on in here, Mama Dreams. In years past, I had already pruned this down, but last year I was really busy, and as you can see, it just took off like crazy. Now, this would have been good, and this actually came from up in here. But this would have been good if I was going for a central leader system. I'm not a huge fan of central leader system. Now, I understand that in high density orchards, that is something that they do like to do. I either like to have a modified leader system, meaning that we're going to have multiple leaders, and that is to offset or mitigate any risk of potential blights or anything else that may affect the tree. If I get a damaged leader, I can just prune that one out of the picture. But if I've only got 1 leader for a central leader system, then I'm kind of SOL if I get any issues with that leader. So I like to have either an open vase concept for our fruit trees or modified multiple leader system in ours. Now, this dude right here, I'm 6 foot tall. I pruned it down just barely over my head. Before I pruned it down, it was easily 10, 11, 12 foot tall in certain spots because of all the shoots. So we've got this one where we want it to be. I'll show you this cherry over here real quick. Now, this one here, come on around, bud. This one here, I left a lot more young limbs in it this year just to see how it does, because last year it got stunted a good bit when I pruned it back. I've been trying to chop this one right below 6 foot until the trunk gets where I want it to get. I want all the energy to go back in to the root system and developing the trunk and developing good, thick, strong, weight-bearing limbs. So I keep chopping this one down, but I've left some stuff. Now, come on in here real quick, Mama Dreams. Now, this limb right here, really, I should pull this one out, but I'm going to leave this one just this season to see how everything shakes out on this tree. And the reason I say that is when you're doing an open vase or any kind of pruning to your tree other than the central leader system, you want to have the sunlight be able to penetrate every part of the tree. That's how you don't get lower limbs not getting sunlight and fruit not, being productive and coming on the tree as much as it could do. So we like to open up the center so when the sun's hitting it, all the limbs get hit. But this one's got a nice limb shooting out to that side of the tree where we don't have limbs established. So I want to leave it and just see what happens with it. We may prune this one back this winter, we'll see. I'll take you on down here and show you this apple that we knocked out.
Belly.
As you can see, we've got tons and tons of limbs from all the ones we've been pruning. Now again, this was another one where some people call them suckers, some people call them water sprouts. The only thing you need to know about them is that these dudes that shoot straight up in the air, they're going to rob the sunlight from the lower branches. And if you're trying to establish a fruit tree, you want good, strong, sturdy branches in your scaffolding. That's what it's called, is scaffolding, when the limbs branch out. And those are going to be the ones that eventually support fruits on them. So I'm going to take you over here. I'm going to show you a hybrid tree that we put in, I believe 2 years ago. It was one of our first fruit trees. And I'll show you where I will have trimmed this tree. Come on, Mama Dream.
Is Maverick okay over there?
Yeah. Yep, he's okay. He's not by the cherry tree, so he's good.
Okay.
So she was asking about the goats. So here's an interesting fact. Goats can eat almost every fruit tree and be perfectly fine. Cherry trees, if the tree is alive, it's healthy and it's safe for them. But if it's a dead limb or dead bark, something chemically changes in the wood and then it becomes poisonous to them. You can come on over here so the sun's not blinding you if you want.
That would be fantastic.
All right, so these are some young poplar trees here. And as much as I like them, obviously this tree, once those are leaved out, is going to be competing with them. Now we have shaped this one, come on in here. We have shaped this one over the years. And the only thing I'm going to do this year is I'm going to focus on taking out some of these cross branches. You don't want your branches rubbing one another. So I'm going to trim out some of these cross branches. I'm going to trim some of this stuff further back. And I'll take off some of the top. But then I've got to lop off those poplar trees, and it won't kill the poplar trees, it'll actually make them thicker, but so that this one gets an opportunity to grow, because it's going to be in a shady corner before long with that poplar tree there. And those are just volunteer poplars that popped up. But as you can see, it's pretty much got an open vase going on already, the shape of the tree, if she's backed away from it enough that you can see it. Now this limb here turned in. Last year I left this limb because it looked like it might have went out. And something I could have done but I didn't do is I could have used wood braces off of another limb, and you can do that when you're training them. And I could have pushed it out that way, but I didn't. That was a mistake on my part. But the tree shape in general is still a very nice shape. It's opening up, it's going to be a good vase, and that's what's going to support a wide scaffolding of fruit. So we'll come back and we'll trim this one on film. Come on up. This is another hybrid tree. We've never really used the hybrid trees before. It was just kind of a novelty, and these two have actually done really well, so I'm happy about that. Now these vines, these thorn bushes are taking over.
Yeah.
We left these thorn bushes last year to see if these guys were going to be any kind of blackberries. They were not. I have no clue what they are. They didn't even flower out. They're just probably just green briars. Yeah, so they're going to come out this year for sure. But this tree, come here, Mama Dreams. So if you look, this is a grafted tree. It's two different kinds of barks. These trees will fruit at different times throughout the year because they grafted 2 or 3 different types of fruit trees together when they made this. So it's kind of neat. It was something that we wanted to try out. I had never had any kind of experience with anything like this. But I'm gonna get the stand set up so you guys can see me trimming these and just show you how I do it. Now I want you to understand that there are many ways to trim or prune fruit trees, and you shape them to the way that's gonna best benefit your homestead. I prefer that open, position and the widespread scaffolding on my trees. Some people do like those central leaders, and different species of trees need trimmed different ways. They don't all respond the same way to the same trimming. So it's just something to keep in mind. Do your homework and you'll get it done right. So I'm gonna take you guys through trimming this tree. But first, like I said before, we gotta knock this poplar out of the way so that we can get to this tree, and this tree will get all the light it needs throughout the year. I'm gonna go ahead and get these poplar limbs out of the way. Now with this poplar, I'm not concerned with doing anything special with pruning it other than just taking off the central leader and these branches that are going to block the shade from my fruit tree. Poplars grow fast. I think they're a pretty tree, but I don't need it stealing the sunlight that my fruit tree that's going to feed me and my family has. There we go. All right. Got that one chopped out of the way. Just a few more limbs here, and then we can focus on the tree at hand. Before you cut, pay attention to your trees. Look at them and see where they cross. Think about your cuts, and always look at it from 2 different angles before you make the cut. I know that this dude right here is in the way. Now one thing you want to do when you're doing this is you want to make your cuts at 45-degree angles. So I'll show you that on the limb here. So when you're cutting, 45-degree angles, y'all. don't want to blunt it off. 45-degree angles. You ideally want to be near a bud if you're cutting on a limb with a bud. So for example, this here, I would just cut right above that bud. So I opened that center up big time by taking that limb out of there. And that was the goal. Knowing how this tree is going to grow, I'm going to trim back some of these branches that are sticking way out so that it really focuses more into the trunk. I'm just going to take my time and look at where I may want to trim from. Now there's a few center feeders here I'm going to go ahead and pull out of the equation because I don't want those clogging the center up and blocking the sunlight. All right, so this limb, it's going to get trimmed back. If you look at the whole shape of the tree, this one's an outlier. It's sticking way out. I trimmed this one back last year and this one's doing good. It's spreading open. So I'm going to do this for this one now. There we go. And I don't take this too far in simply because I've been shaping this tree. What I was doing right there, I had my finger on a previous spot that I had pruned this, and I was just looking at the growth. And if you could see, I pruned it right here, and now look at all these new limbs that have spawned out below where I pruned it. So this right here is going to be a leader, and it's up high, so it's going to block sunlight from the remainder of the tree. So I'm taking that out. Another 45-degree angle. I'm not a pro, I'm not an arborist. I just know a little bit about growing some fruit. And to be honest with y'all, like I said earlier, there's multiple ways to do this. You know the old saying, there's many ways to skin a cat. That applies to fruit trees too. It really all just depends on what your goal is, what your situation is, where you're living, your climate, how far your trees have to be able to spread out. These tree limbs right here are crisscrossing. We don't want that. So I'm going to look and make a determination on which part to remove from that. I think for this dude, best bet would be for me to cut it right here. There we go. Take that out of there. Now I can focus this one. And this tree here has got some sucker, this limb here has got some suckers on it. Just gonna take that back right below a bud. There we go. Same with this squirrely dude here. It's gonna try to take off on us as soon as spring comes into full effect. Same with all these. And now another thing you can do is come springtime, you can come back out after you've made your winter prunes, and you can come back out in the spring when you see how those prunes were working. And you can make further adjustments. I was waiting on that car to go by so y'all could hear, but you can make further adjustments during the springtime. You don't want to do any massive pruning during the springtime, but you can definitely make some on-the-spot corrections, especially once you see the results of your winter pruning. Now I'm trimming these back because what's going to happen is these dudes are going to get real lanky because they're at the top. They're going to be stretching for the sun, blocking the sun on the bottom, and they're going to get lanky, meaning that they're going to be more susceptible to being broke in high winds. And we get some pretty good winds in Indiana, so I want to make sure that my tree is focusing on building strength in the lower limbs, the scaffolding. So these are touching right here. This dude is going towards the center, so it's coming out. This dude is coming out too. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, y'all. This guy's going to grow back through, so it's coming out. There we go. So you're cleaning out your center, basically. I like my centers to be open. I like the sun to be able to get to every part of the tree. Just one more crazy one here. There we go. So this one I'm not going to get too carried away, go too drastic with this one, because like I said, we've been working on this one a few years now. It started as a little bitty, you know, no bigger than this here, honestly. And so we're starting to get the shape we want, and I'm pretty happy with that. So buddy, Maverick's inspecting my work. If there's ever a good pruner on trees, it'll be a goat. They love these things. I'm pretty happy with that. And the other thing is, I'm trying to keep all of our fruit trees under 6 foot or just barely over 6 foot until all of the younger ones get better established. The reason for that is all of these we put in last year. If I let the few older ones get way bigger before these are ready, then the few older ones will be taking all the sunlight because their canopies will be further established, their scaffolding will be further established. So we're going to let those bigger ones stay at 6 foot. There's nothing wrong with that, because all that'll do is put energy into the trunk and the scaffolding limbs in the bottom. So right here, good one to show y'all. All right. So this is a young apple tree from last year's plant. Trying to get that so it doesn't fall over. There we go. All right, young apple tree. I like the open vase. Here's a central leader. We'll take this out. And that's literally the only thing I'm going to do on that tree this season. You see it's already getting a good thick trunk. That's because when we first planted it, I chopped it way back. That central leader was coming up. Good to go now. These dudes I'm not stressing about. Leave those in place. We're working on kind of making a vase shape at this point, and that's just the shape I like. It opens everything up. Take that off. It's going to be a sucker if we don't trim that one back. But other than that, it's looking pretty decent. Got one more here. Boom. Open them up. It makes for easier fruit picking too when it's time to actually get some fruit from your trees. Let's see what else we got to trim around the yard, y'all. It's always a good time. All right, so this guy here is doing pretty good actually. Now one thing I'm going to do is I don't particularly like that one big bottom limb hanging out there. And as you can see, it's turned up. It's not shooting out as much as I would like for it to do. So I'm going to go ahead and get that bottom limb off of this one. And trim this one. Just keeping uniformity on our heights. We don't want anything to become a sucker. Go ahead and hit that one too. There we go. And this guy. You got to go, bro. Boom. Nice. Actually, you know what, y'all? I'm just gonna go ahead and take that completely out of there. No central leader. Boom. 45-degree angle, opens up, everything's open and pretty, and that's what we want. A few little scraggly limbs at the bottom here. Go ahead and take those off. We want the tree focusing all of its energy into these scaffolding limbs and into the root system the first couple years. Because if you don't establish a good root system, once you get a big tree with big limbs and it has fruit, heavy fruit, it's going to be easy to break. It's not going to be able to absorb the nutrients it needs in order to feed the fruit and have the fruit growth that you would want on your tree. All of these things are really important. And I know it's scary to come out here and prune a tree that you're like, man, I just paid 30 bucks, 40 bucks, 50 bucks, whatever for the tree. "Oh, I'm gonna kill it if I cut it back." It is scary, it's intimidating, but I promise you, you're not gonna kill it if you cut it back. You can actually take 2/3 off of a brand new tree, 2/3 of the height. I tend to go more around 1/3, but you can take 2/3 off the height and it's fine on a brand new tree. You would not necessarily want to prune an established tree that hard though. All right, so we're gonna come in here, and this one actually came from the nursery, pretty well trained, as far as at some point they had redirected that. So you can see where there's now a nub here because they opened it up. So I'm actually pretty happy with that one. We'll hit some of those tops off real quick. Other than that, it's not a bad looking shape. It's important to get out and do it this time of year. That broke off, I don't like that. I've got some smaller hand pruners, but it's gonna take me forever to find them because my kids use them to open feed bags. So I just said I'll just come on out here with the loppers and get her done. There we go. Nice. Good shaped tree, I like it. Take that down a little bit. But it's important to go on and get out here and get this done this time of year, because the trees are starting to try to bud out. We've had some funky weather where it's been really cold, and then it's turned around and it's been really warm and beautiful like today. And we had that 2-3 years ago, and it messed all the trees up because all the trees flowered out. They were excited. They were like, yeah, spring is in the air. Got all their flowers out, and then we had 2 really hard frosts. Nobody got fruit that year. It messed the trees up big time. So I'm gonna get this done before they bud out, and hopefully, y'all, we can pray that Mother Nature doesn't trick the trees and doesn't trick us again this year. All right, let's come on up here and check out some more stuff, y'all. Hope you're having fun. Hope you're learning something. I'm always willing to learn, so if you've got some comments, feel free to share them with me. Let me know. You know, there's probably some far more experienced pruning folks than I am. So this monster here, this is one of those Arkansas blacks. Oh, my battery is about to die. There we go. So this is one of those Arkansas blacks, and it's kind of gnarly. Like, this little dude has limbs literally everywhere on the trunk. This is an heirloom apple tree. Pretty excited to see what happens with it. I don't have a lot of experience with trimming these. I am not a fan of that central leader style. So what I'm gonna do for this dude is I'm actually just gonna lop it off about right there. I'm gonna lop it off. And that's gonna force these lower branches to get stronger. And then next fall, once I see which of these smaller branches has really gotten established, I'll trim it up pretty nice. All right, y'all, so I lopped it off, and I went ahead and trimmed up some of those shoots off the top there so that it's not competing for the sunlight. I know I keep repeating that, but I want to drive that home to you. Now here's another good one to look at. So this dude, if you check her out, way down there is where they grafted her in. So what I'm gonna do for this guy is this big tall dude is gonna try to be a leader, and that's fine. But to keep uniformity and to keep the energy where I want it, I'm gonna chop all that back. And that's okay, because again, you could do 2/3 of a new tree. It's not gonna kill it. Go ahead. We've already got one spot here where it was pruned at the nursery. So we're gonna do the same thing here. Same height. Go ahead, take care of that. Take care of these suckers right here. See how flimsy that is? It's just flopping all over the place. I don't want that. So there we go. Got her chopped down. That trunk will be doubled, if not tripled, by next spring because we put the energy back down instead of coming up. Everybody, come here, boy. Like I said, we live on a corner, y'all. It's been a fun day trimming these trees. I'm gonna give you a few more tips before we wrap the video up. If you live in an area that has Japanese beetle pressure, look into milky spores. We're all about doing everything organically and chemically free around here. So we use milky spores to combat the Japanese beetles, and we use neem oil. Those are the two things that we use, and I'm actually gonna have to spray our trees fairly soon before they get budded out with the neem oil. Maverick's been a good helper today, huh, buddy? You good boy. He's been a good helper. Like I said in the video, y'all, there's a bunch of different information on the internet. Just figure out what's gonna work best for you, trial and error. You know, there are no failures, there's only experiments. That's what my buddy Dirk over at Mama Bear's Homestead and More says. And I've came to understanding the way I prune fruit trees through experiments. I was cautious the first couple years, and I didn't get the trunk that I needed on trees. So I kind of got a little bit bolder and did what I had read and researched and chopped stuff off. I know it can be scary to do that, especially on a brand new tree that you spend a lot of money on, but don't be afraid. It'll bounce back. Get that knocked out, take care of your trees, and your trees will take care of you. The other thing is you've got to prune though. If you want a heavy fruit load on your trees, you've got to prune. My buddy Paul down in Carolina told me that he was going to have to replant fruit trees, and I asked him, so why, dude? You got like a massive orchard. And he said because even though he's got big bushy trees, he does not get a lot of fruit, and that's because he never really pruned them early on. So they're limbed out everywhere. They got limbs going all over the place, crossing and, you know, doing silliness. So he does get fruit, but not very much fruit because all the energy's going into limbs and leaves and all kinds of stuff. You've really got to trim it and prune it. It's kind of like, you know, suckering a tomato plant. You don't want limbs and parts of the tree stealing energy from the fruit. But don't be afraid to experiment and figure out what's going to work best for you. I'm going to take all these limbs and I'm going to actually save them, let them dry out, and I'm going to use them for smoking meats this summer. So there's a byproduct to all the hard work, and you know, we try to look for different ways to utilize everything that we do around here. He's just enjoying a little snack, Mama. You keep looking at him. Mama Dreams is wondering what Maverick's doing. We won't be allowed to let Maverick run around up here once he gets bigger, but he's a bottle baby. We have lost fruit trees in the past to the kids leaving a gate open and the goats getting in there and having a heyday. That's why we moved everything to the front yard so that they wouldn't be able to get to it because all the goats are in the back. But Maverick's special. He's a bottle baby. He's a house goat, and y'all will see that in other videos. Anyhow, if you've got any kind of questions, reach out. I'll try to assist you the best I can. Again, I'm not a pro, but you know, if you start researching online, there's so many pros that have conflicting opinions on what the best way to do is. So that's why I say experiment and do what's going to work for your homestead and your situation. As always, if y'all like what we're doing, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd appreciate it. And hit that bell at the top so you'll get notifications when we have more videos coming out. And as always, y'all, till next time, keep dreaming.